What is up, FA Nation? This is Kevin Tompkins here, back with Target Report bullet points for Week 5 coming up here. We just got through the Week 4 slate with the Giants and Seahawks on Monday Night Football, so we are in the lab here bringing you the most information and actionable tidbits to bring to your fantasy football leagues. Again, if you like what we're doing here, consider subscribing to our YouTube channel here and give us a like as well. We certainly appreciate all the support that we've had here on not just Target Report bullet points, but everything that we do here at Fantasy Alarm. So please consider putting a like on the video, subscribing, and checking out all we have here at Fantasy Alarm. Of course, you can also find our Target Report on fantasyalarm.com every Thursday, so be on the lookout for that with the full suite of information, metrics, everything like that, involving targets, involving running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and the like. So without further ado, let's get right into the Target Report bullet points heading into Week 5. Let's talk about Buffalo Bills running back James Cook. Now, Cook's been solid enough for the Bills this season as fantasy football's RB12 in PPR. He has double-digit fantasy points in each game, has seen no worse than 50% of all running backs' routes and snaps for Buffalo in the first 3 weeks until Week 4. Cook saw a dramatic downturn in routes, with 31% routes per dropback and 40% of snaps, both season lows. Annoyingly, both Latavius Murray and Damien Harris have mixed in to see increases in routes and snaps to Cook's detriment. Cook did see all 3 green zone touches inside the 10-yard line and converted one for a rushing touchdown in Week 4, which helped bolster his RB13 day. But the reduced overall receiving workload is concerning for Cook's overall upside. Still, his one long gain in Week 4 on the receiving end was a 48-yard reception on an off-script sort of wheel route when everything was pretty much covered downfield and Josh Allen had to improvise. James Cook does feel like a smash to put in fantasy lineups still, knowing what his upside is, but ultimately he's a puzzle with just a couple pieces missing. If we can get both the goal line work and the receiving work on Cook's side, he'll fully take off in this elite Buffalo Bills offense. Until then, we're looking at a mid-level RB2 until all the pieces can come together. What if I told you the most productive wide receiver by far on a per-route basis for the Denver Broncos has run routes on 26% of total dropbacks this season? Almost everybody on planet Earth and in distant galaxies are in full agreement that Marvin Mims should be playing more offensive snaps and running more routes for the Broncos. Mims even got some steam this week as a player who could earn an expanded role in Week 4, and Sean Payton, the head coach himself, said the Broncos would have some changes in receiving personnel this week. But Mims ran the same amount of snaps and routes as fantasy football's public enemy number 1, Brandon Johnson. Still, a season high for Mims at 39% route participation. Courtland Sutton has run 137 routes this season. Jerry Jeudy has run 93 routes in 3 games. Marvin Mims has a total of 39 routes in 4 games. And he also leads the team in receiving yards. Not only that, he has an otherworldly 6.21 yards per route run, an awesome 28.2 targets per route run to lead the Broncos in both categories. A high yards per route run is a massive indicator of a player that's hugely efficient, and that correlates to future fantasy production once he does start getting more routes and snaps. Mims might be a guy that you can acquire for next to nothing now that the bye weeks are starting up in Week 5, so you can kind of sneak him by, trading some bench depth. He's undeniably been the most efficient and arguably the most explosive player in fantasy football this season. If for some reason he's on waivers in your league, go get him with 10 to 50% of your fab and stash him. The Broncos have handled Mims with kid gloves so far in 2023, but his route should spike sometime soon. If he only runs 12 routes in Week 5, it's time to write your local congressman. Going back to the Buffalo Bills here, Dalton Kincaid has fallen through the cracks here in terms of fantasy football production so far in 2023, but there are some signs here that we have to like and be bullish on. Sure, Kincaid hasn't had more than 6 targets, 5 catches, or 43 receiving yards, but we know this Bills offense is incredibly potent, and Kincaid figures to be a big part of it moving forward. Kincaid's routes have increased to a season-long high of 79% in Week 4, with Dawson Knox's routes hitting a season low of 48%. Week 4 was also the first time that Kincaid outsnapped Cox. Kincaid's 15 receptions so far are 3rd most by a rookie tight end in the first 4 weeks of the season in the last decade. And if it weren't for Sam Laporta's blistering start to the season, we'd be talking about Kincaid a lot more. Kincaid might be a borderline start right now in fantasy football, but the puzzle pieces are starting to come together. Elite Bills offense, the routes are climbing. Still, some passing game ambiguity in their target tree after Stephon Diggs. Gabe Davis hasn't really broken out. We're seeing a three-way split with the running backs right now. Trent Sherfield, Deontay Hardy, Khalil Shakir aren't exactly lighting things on fire. So there is a lot of room here in this Bills offense for a third consistent pass catcher, and I think that can be Dalton Kincaid. Now, we need to exercise some patience right now, considering he's not the greatest start right now, but he is trending up, and that tree is going to bear a lot more fruit very soon.